Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. James Gunn just dropped a first look at the new Green Lantern HBO series for Hal Jordan and John Stewart. They've been filming for a little while, and they finally started talking more about what's going on during the actual episodes. So everybody's wondering what James Gunn was going to do with his new era of Green Lantern, since it's been so long since Ryan Reynolds' movie and Zack Snyder tried to do a version of John Stewart during the Justice League Snyder Cut. If you remember that, the studio actually tried to block him from doing that, and he said, nope, doing it anyway. This is my version of John Stewart. He was meant to show up at the end of the Justice League Snyder Cut. Technically, the Superman trailer with Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner was our first new Green Lantern look from James Gunn, like the first type of Green Lantern just in general. But the Superman movie and Nathan Fillion's Green Lantern are a totally different vibe and tone from the Green Lantern HBO series with these versions of Green Lanterns. If you've never read the comics, Hal Jordan and John Stewart are dramatically different personalities than Guy Gardner, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, I'll be doing videos for all the episodes when it comes next year. Episodes will be airing in 2026. Be sure to subscribe to get everything, and obviously we have the next big Superman trailer coming. We'll probably get more of Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner during that, because we've only gotten some brief teasers for his character. Even though he seems like a giant douche nozzle, that's kind of the tone of Guy Gardner's character in the comics. This scene, though, of Hal Jordan and John Stewart is meant to be from one of the earlier moments in the Green Lantern HBO series. I'm assuming it's from episode 1 when they first roll up to town. James Gunn himself said it's meant to feel like a traditional HBO crime thriller series mixed with the DC universe. Damon Lindelof was one of the creatives behind the show. He also did the Watchmen HBO series. If you remember how super trippy and weird that series got a couple years ago, that's kind of the vibe and tone that James Gunn said is in the Green Lantern series. Way darker, way more serious vibe than you get from, say, like the Superman trailers with Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner, who's way more over the top. The reason why they keep using the True Detective comp is because it's two space cops, partners, the older, grizzled veteran Lantern Hal Jordan with the young rookie John Stewart investigating a murder in small-town Nebraska, United States. That's where they're meant to be here, like small-town Nebraska, in the Midwest.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
The murder they're investigating is meant to have larger ties and implications for the entire DC universe, and it's connected to the movies in the big event movie that they're working up to, he said, in the next 6 years from now. James Gunn said in the next 6 years, which I think is meant to be their next Justice League movie. He didn't say specifically what the title of that's going to wind up being or the event that it's going to be based on in the comics. He just said big crossover event movie, like big Justice League movie. So the whole theory here is that the person who gets murdered that they have to investigate winds up being a major character. And when they say it's going to be super trippy and weird in this small town Nebraska, I'm thinking more Severance is a good show to compare it to. Like they're seemingly set in a real world in some universe, but the way that Severance plays with the camera, perspectives, memory, perception, you're never quite sure what's real, what people are just imagining in their heads. It just gets super trippy. Then there's the fact that it's HBO. It's going to be like a TVMA, like a more mature series, a very dark series, way more serious take on the Green Lantern lore than, say, Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner, who's way more, like I said, over the top. Superman movie, more of a PG-13 kind of vibe, as you would expect. And because Guy Gardner is so over the top, he was like the main Green Lantern during the 80s for the most part in the comics, they're trying to be more accurate to that for his portrayal in that movie. So even though you see everybody clowning on him for looking like a douche in all the trailers, that's on purpose, like they're making him like that on purpose. But I think also, we're only just getting snippets of his character from that first teaser trailer. It's just meant to give you vibes of what he kind of feels like. I think that when we get the official trailer in the next month or so, when the Thunderbolts comes out, I think that's when they're attaching the next Superman trailer too. We'll probably get more from his character. They'll give you a little more context for what he's actually like in the movie. Usually those second trailers are when they give you more of the actual story of the movie itself. But as you can see here, it's Kyle Chandler playing Hal Jordan, slightly older Hal Jordan, like grizzled, seen a couple city miles, been through a couple big events, and Aaron Pierre is playing the younger John Stewart. Both of them look great. If you haven't seen any of Aaron Pierre's stuff, he was great in Rebel Ridge. That was the thing that was released a little while ago. After that came out, that was when everybody started talking about him becoming the new John Stewart. Like, wouldn't he be amazing as some of these big roles, some of the other big Marvel roles too? Like, just did really well in that series, so people got really excited about him in general.
Here come your peeps.
One of the other biggest things you'll see is they're not wearing their Green Lantern uniforms in the actual scene because, like a traditional TV series, they'll be walking around in plain clothes for a lot of it with their lantern rings. The way that James Gunn talked about it is that there'll be some space-based stuff going on, like there'll be larger Green Lantern stuff going on in the background, but for the most part, they'll be in small-town Nebraska, walking around episode to episode, investigating this murder. So it's not like they're going to be walking around in broad daylight every single day, all the time, 24/7, in their Green Lantern uniforms. This is James Gunn talking a little bit about that.
Because the story, the thing that keeps getting out is it's a terrestrial story, Yeah, because it's on Earth. The story takes place on Earth. Everybody's like, oh, we don't want to see their outer space. They fly with rings. We don't want to see And I'm like, yeah, they're on Earth for the story, like most Green Lantern stories. It's terrestrial bound.
Right.
It's not in outer space, I think grounded, just like, if Green Lanterns were real, what would they be and how would they be? We don't have 1,000 Green Lanterns, all that stuff. And it's like, it's a grounded story that's being told through another lens in a way that's really commensurate. It's an HBO series, and it's going to be an HBO series.
You do notice in this scene, though, that Hal Jordan is wearing his Green Lantern ring, but based on the way he's holding his hands, I can't tell if John Stewart is also wearing his ring or if he doesn't have a ring at this moment for some reason. It might just be the way he's holding his hand just out of view, so he might actually have his ring here. But because the TV show is meant to be connected to the movies, so like these Green Lanterns work with Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner, they're part of the same Green Lantern Corps, the reason why Hal Jordan's Green Lantern ring looks different from Guy Gardner's Green Lantern ring, even though they come from the same battery, is because Green Lanterns can make their rings look different based on their own personalities. Meaning that John Stewart's ring will also probably look a little bit different from Hal Jordan's ring. But all the rings are functionally the same, like they all have the same abilities. A lot of people are also asking, why are there so many Green Lanterns from Earth in Earth's sector of space? Because each Green Lantern is meant to be given a single sector of space, so traditionally it's just one Green Lantern per sector of space. Canonically, the way they explain this is that Earth is meant to be considered a nexus of willpower, meaning that humans possess a higher level of willpower, which is the main part of the emotional spectrum the Green Lanterns wield.
To quote scripture, the first one given a ring was not the first lantern.
So even though there are vastly more powerful alien Green Lanterns out there right now, humans have a natural predisposition for being more effective as Green Lanterns than, say, for other parts of the emotional spectrum. Even though Guy Gardner also became a Red Lantern for a little while. And talking more about the emotional spectrum, people were asking if Garrett Dillahunt, who was cast in the series, is playing Black Hand. He released a clip getting ready for one of his scenes using a massive whole-body practical effect, so it sounds like he's playing a major character from the comics and it's going to get super trippy. I don't know if he's actually playing Black Hand, but when people talk about that character, they're usually asking about Blackest Night in the War of Light. That was all part of the longer Jeff Johns run where he did the Sinestro Corps War, Blackest Night, Brightest Day. The whole series of events was referred to as the War of Light. They basically try to develop the rest of the emotional spectrum as different corps in their own rights. Like the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie just started to tease the Yellow Lanterns with Sinestro, the Sinestro Corps. I'm assuming we'll get some teasers for at least the Yellow Lanterns during the series because Sinestro will be one of the main characters of this new James Gunn Green Lantern series, but they didn't say if he's already created the Sinestro Corps yet or if he's still just a renegade Green Lantern during the events of the series. What they might wind up doing, because this is still very early days in James Gunn's DCU, and like he's still kind of populating the universe with all these different pieces of the comics, they might just set up Sinestro to create the Sinestro Corps, because it would be weird for them to skip over all of that forming, because there's just so much Green Lantern lore in general, so much untold story in the live-action movies and TV shows. They've actually done way more with Green Lantern in the animated series, the animated movies. Nathan Fillion even voiced animated Hal Jordan for a long time back in the day, but never in live action. That was the main reason why they couldn't do more legit version of Hal Jordan in the Arrowverse back in the day. We got a teaser for him during Arrow, like very, very briefly, blink and you'll miss it, and Diggle almost became a Green Lantern for a hot second there at the very end. The whole reason why they swerved on Diggle Green Lantern at the very end there was because at that time, Zack Snyder was trying to do his Jon Stewart in the Justice League Snyder Cut. The studio was pissed about that. Separately, Warner Brothers and DC had also started working on the earlier version of their Green Lantern HBO series. There's a couple different iterations of that show that happened the last several years. Like they kind of did a Daredevil Born Again situation that Marvel had with that show.
Dark times indeed.
And that was meant to be part of the previous regime, pre-James Gunn, before he was hired, when they were still bringing Henry Cavill back to do Man of Steel 2. They were still going to do a Zack Snyder-based Justice League in a new Crisis on Infinite Earths movie that the Flash movie was meant to set up. I did a whole bunch of videos about this when it was happening a couple years ago because the previous regime before James Gunn had a whole different plan for like the next 10 years of DC movies in a lot of these big budget HBO series they were going to do. So they were going to do a version of what James Gunn is doing right now, but their plans for the characters, the stories they were doing, and the way they were using the characters and the actors they were using were completely different. So a couple years ago, when that was spinning up and people were getting hyped up about a new Henry Cavill Superman movie, Greg Berlanti and the Arrowverse people were making a version of this Green Lantern HBO series, which was going to be a completely different story, completely different group of Green Lanterns. They cast Finn Wittrock as their Guy Gardner. He was going to be the main Green Lantern of their HBO series. They were going to do Alan Scott, a couple other Green Lanterns, jump across the timeline a couple different times. But then they hired James Gunn to reboot all of DC movies. That all completely changed. Like he wiped the slate clean for the most part, cast a whole bunch of new actors, going to do a whole new version of Justice League, new version of Superman. We're seeing that now with the Superman movie later this year. That is basically the beginning of all this. The Green Lantern HBO series and like Peacemaker Season 2 are like the next steps in live action for the TV shows though. But it is all meant to be connected in James Gunn's DCU. So everything they're doing on this new Green Lantern HBO series with these versions of the characters will affect what's happening in the future of the movies. My assumption is that this version of Jon Stewart will eventually be on that next Justice League team when it forms, but that won't be for like another 6 years. Also wondering how crazy they're going to get with Peacemaker Season 2 because it's coming out right after the Superman movie, so maybe we'll see some other characters crossing over with that too. It is going to be crazy, but whatever winds up happening, of course I will do videos about it. We'll try to figure it out together. I just did a video about the Superman Green Lantern trailer from the Super Bowl. It is a trip. Click here for that, and click here to learn more about Sinestro during this new Green Lantern series. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.